How in the fuck does any of this work?
I don't know, but look how pretty it is. All the colors, it's very different from our technology, isn't it? Don't worry, Asmogan, I'll get everything all set and repaired so we can head back to our own space-time. Oh boy, I can't wait to get my hands on that engine.
What's up, you filthy heretics? How you doing? My name is Asmogan, and today we'll be talking about the hunky-chunky hulking red Primarch himself, Magnus the Red, the Primarch of the 15th Legion of Astartes, known as the Thousand Suns. So without further ado, let's get on with the lore dump. One major thing to mention off the bat in regards to Magnus is his incredibly high aptitude for magics of the warp and psychic abilities. The reason I mention this first and foremost is the fact that, unlike most of his brothers, Magnus was acutely aware of the Emperor while still in his gestation pod, and maintained some level of primal communication with him. So anyway, after the Primarchs were field goal kicked across the stars, the one who would come to be called Magnus landed upon the world of Prospero, a world heavily populated by a psycho-majority people, who made their home upon Prospero for its inaccessibility, as the whole wielding the warp thing usually led to psychers fucking up and angry mobs tearing them limb from limb, so segregating themselves upon the world was not entirely unwise. Magnus's gestation pod landed smack dab in the middle of the most populated city of Prospero, Tizca, the City of Light. And by the way, when I say smack dab in the middle of, I do mean that. He landed in the city's central plaza. I can only imagine the nerds trading homework casually by a fountain, only for a large metal pod to just smash into it. After opening the pod, the people of Prospero were a tad shocked to find a bright, red-skinned infant, the size of a calf, and he was taken in by the psychic scholar leaders of Prospero, who raised him in the psychic arts. Magnus, as I'm sure it comes as no surprise, took to his teachings with great vigor and natural talent, absorbing the old fart's studies like a sponge to water, and in no time at all he had grown both in psychic ability and tremendous physical size, even larger than that of his would-be brothers. Like the other Primarchs, Magnus became the most powerful and notable figure upon his given world, not just as the most powerful and wise psychic scholar, but also as a fierce and impressive combatant. Magnus displayed such when he led a campaign to rid Prospero of however in the hell you pronounce this shit, which were the terrible psychic predators that roamed the countryside outside the major settlements. After both his scholarly and martial prowess were thoroughly displayed, the people of Prospero confidently elevated the Kool-Aid Man to head nerd of Prospero. Truly, his collection of pocket protectors was the one to beat them all. Anyway, under Magnus, the rugged psycho society quickly rose to great unity and splendor. Yeah, blah blah blah, same old for most Primarchs so far. The most notable thing at this point was that Magnus had a large pyramid built in Tizca, which served as a big pretentious library and an archival site for magics and notes upon the nature of the warp, which Magnus was explicitly told not to delve too much into by his surrogate father, Amon. Can't say he wasn't warned. Twice. By both father figures. You know what, Magnus is the dumbest smart person ever. Now, of course, this leads us to Big E dashing across the stars with Horus in tow, master-balling all dem Primarchs along the way. His Pokedex was indeed looking good. Eventually, of course, Emps found his way to Prospero by bloodhounding out Magnus' psychic presence, and the two met up and hugged like they had known each other for years. Boy, does Angron have reason to rage for that stark contrast. But we'll get to that another time. As usual, Emps shafted the custody of the Primarch's bastards onto him, and also as usual, Magnus added a few chosen men native to Prospero to the Astartes ranks, creating a mix of Terran-born Marines and Prospero-born Marines. Now, what is unique in terms of the relationship between Magnus the Nerd and Emps was that they went on decades-long joint travels, studying the warp and Emps imparting warnings onto Magnus of the dangers if he fucked with it too much. To which Magnus would always pull out his phone and play Flappy Orc until Emps was done lecturing. Now, this is major for multiple reasons, but the main one is that these forays regarding the warp led to Magnus learning more than any other Primarch about its true nature and what lurks within its horrid depths. Whereas even Horus, the Emperor's favorite son, was imparted little explanation by comparison. So Magnus knew even more than the War Master in regards to the warp. skipping massive chunks of the Great Crusade in which Kool-Aid Man the Red and his legion conquered many worlds with magical psycho flair and nerdgasms. After being named the War Master, Horus Lupercal was led into a trap and stabbed by a cursed blade, which had begun to kill him. Rather than let him die, his closest advisors were convinced by the trap's orchestrator, though they didn't know that he had orchestrated it, Erebus of the Wordbearers Legion, to take Horus to a cult, who had then sent Horus's soul to the Warp, where the Chaos God showed him the dark future of the Imperium. Magnus, during deep meditation back on Prospero, foresaw this corruption of Horus and immediately moved to aid his brother in the Warp, and hopefully prevent his corruption by the Chaos Gods. However, he failed to sway his brother, and the corruption of Horus succeeded. Once Magnus broke from the Warp in a panic, rounded up his best sorcerers and sent a powerful psychic message to the Emperor on Terra itself, to the Golden Throne itself. This unfortunately would be the key to Magnus's own downfall, as the message had indeed reached the Emperor. However, to do so destroyed all of the Emperor's carefully laid wards around the Golden Throne, which opened it up to attack by the forces of chaos, which flooded in the moment the wards were breached. Now, the Emperor did hear Magnus's message. However, he didn't believe a fucking word of it through the blind rage he had felt with the results of Magnus's tampering with the Warp. Imps, not believing Magnus's message of Horus turning traitor and an impending civil war on the horizon, ordered that Leman Russ retrieve Magnus and bring him to Terra to face the Emperor's judgment. Russ, already having a distrustful disposition to Magnus due to him being a psyker, gladly took on this task. However, the freshly corrupted Horus relayed supposed new orders to Russ from the Emperor, saying that Russ was to kill Magnus and burn Prospero to the ground. Russ, having no reason to distrust Horus, and having already been told by the Emperor himself that Magnus had indeed done wrong, carried forth with this change in orders. Thus the burning of Prospero came to be, which we will cover in full another time. Thank you all so much for watching, hope you all enjoyed this episode, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and remember, for the Imperium, my brothers.